The estate estimator is used to calculate how long your current resources will support your family in the event of your death. When you click on the appropriate selector button, the estimator slides into view. The growth and inflation percentages will be used throughout this calculation exercise. Your surviving spouse has certain resources of her own, such as her earning ability. Over the term, she would work to retirement age. In this case, Mrs. Soap earns 8,000 Rand gross salary per month, and she'll work for 20 years to the age of 65. The cash flow requirement. Mr. and Mrs. Soap have done a comprehensive budget which identifies the present value of the take-home cash that the Soap family would require to sustain their lifestyle. The take-home cash requirement is the net amount required. We have kept the tax field separate to demonstrate that tax is a moving target. When and if you change the income cash flow needed, the tax payable must be adjusted too. These two figures are then added together and form part of the gross income in the final analysis at the bottom of this page. Two things that I'd like to bring to your attention about the tax field in the estate estimator. The first is we can only use our present year's tax tables. So this type of analysis should be run at least once a year so that you can adjust the figures for the new tax tables. And second, you have to be as accurate as possible because, as an example, if Mr. Soap makes the mistake of just guessing that this tax should be 1,500 Rand instead of the 2,376 Rand that it actually is, his family could end up paying for that mistake when they can least afford it and when they can do nothing about it, because the 875 Rand tax miscalculation will reduce their income drastically. The term that this income will be required will depend on each individual family. But basically, if adequate requirement funding has been added to the survivor's budget, the term would be to retirement age. If not, then we need to use his or her life expectancy, and the assumption for this exercise is to age 90. Mrs. Soap does not have a pension fund or a retirement annuity, so the income will be required for 45 years to her age 90. A cost that is overlooked many times when doing basic planning is the fee of 3.99% calculated on the value of assets that would have to be administered by the executor of the will. In Mr. Soap's case, he has 600,000 Rand worth of estate assets in his name that would have to go through the will, and the 3.99%, which is inclusive of VAT, on that would be 23,940 Rand. And then there could be liabilities such as bond, vehicle, loans, credit cards, etc. that could be owing. In Mr. and Mrs. Soap's case, we've got a 0. So we get to resources. Life cover is an instant estate creator, but Mr. Soap doesn't have any group life cover at the office, and he doesn't have any personal cover either. In the investment field, irrespective of what an investment is earmarked for, whether it's education or a special holiday, the survivor would have access to that if there was any. In the case of Mr. and Mrs. Soap, there is 0. The retirement fund value. Mr. Soap has an accumulated group pension fund of 900,000 Rand, which is available to his family in the event of his death. If you add anything into the calculation fields, as an example, I'll just put in a 10 there, the calculate button turns red as a reminder that a calculation needs to be done before reading the summary. And so when we hit the calculate button, the summary page slides into place, and all Mr. Soap's information that has been captured and now calculated is displayed in the summary section. The summary page is made up of income summary, capital summary, assessment, assumptions, and cash flow. So this is the summary page for Mr. and Mrs. Soap. Mrs. Soap, as the survivor, earns a salary of 8,000 Rand per month. According to their budget, she needs 18,376 Rand. It's a shortfall of 10,376 Rand. Mr. Soap's pension fund value is 900,000 Rand. The estate executor's fees is 23,940 Rand. Mrs. Soap has 876,000 Rand in capital. If we look at the cash flow, the 8,000 Rand that Mrs. Soap has as an income in the middle column, 8,000 Rand, increasing at 6% per annum, and her requirement of 18,376 Rand, the initial requirement in the last column, grows at 6% as well. The difference between the two would be either added or subtracted from the capital, which is the 876,000 Rand to start off with in year one, and that allows her to have an income equal to her 18,376 Rand inflation linked for the first 9 years, and then she runs out of cash. So we have a 9-year income pattern, but we require 2.3 million Rand to overcome the shortfall. Mr. and Mrs. Soap have one of two options to take. Mrs. Soap can consent to reduce her budget and try to coax a few more years out of the cash flow, or they can invest in life insurance on Mr. Soap's life and create an extra 2.3 million Rand in the estate instantly. So let's run a balancing test. We'll copy the shortfall requirement and paste it into the cover available, as if Mr. Soap had increased his cover. We'll then run the calculation, and as if by magic, Mrs. Soap has 45 years of financial support available. It is beyond the scope of this estimated tool to give you advice. What you input in the input fields results in the output in the summary. If you have any shortfalls, you should contact a licensed advisor to assist you to select the best vehicle suited to your profile with regards to risk and tax benefits. And of course, you'll want to keep your premiums as low as possible. So beware, don't get caught with loyalty programs, premiums paid back, and low petrol costs that lock you into a loyalty program. That's how the estate estimator works in a nutshell. Now, before you log off and lose all your calculations, first use the handy printer to save your work. And you should seriously consider registering, and we will introduce you to a licensed financial advisor who can assist you to catalog and plan your personal budgets, your net worth, investments, insurance, and host it all in one accessible, permanent place.